weekend. This is Enterprise Weekend, reaching you from Enterprise Television. I am Henry Igwebiki. We start off today with our newspapers, and right after that will be our main conversation also for today. Please do well to be part of what we do have a say in what we say. You can always find and reach us at enterprisetvnews.com. You may equally like, comment, and follow us on all our social media platforms at Enterprise TV7. We have joining us via Zoom from Lagos State, Nigeria, Emeka Madunago, journalist, public affairs analyst. Thank you so very much, Emeka, for being here.
Yeah, hello, it's my pleasure.
Thank you. All right, so yes, thank you so very much, sir. Let's start off with the Guardian newspaper for today. We have on the very top strip here, this is a special feature from the Guardian newspaper. Aftermath of Mokwa tragedy, policy shift, climate risk assessment as strategies to tame flooding. And also we have other interesting stories here. Reward a resilient future. OAU's council management align strategies for institutional advancement. And we equally have Idil Kabir. Tinubu urges prayer for troops, task Nigerians on unity and sacrifice. And we equally have other matters here. PDP orders national reflection, calls on APC to end waste and deceit. Can felicitate Muslims, seek prayers for Mokwa flood victims. Voter education, civic competence, and participatory democracy in Nigeria. That's all we have for the Guardian newspaper. But Emeka, let's take a look at the Mokwa flood tragedy. That is one natural disaster that hasn't been discussed or given lots of attention on different media platforms. Is it that flood has become very common to us, that we do not give them as much attention as they are supposed to?
Yeah, thank you. It's a mixed bag. You know, the government has its blame, the citizenry has, its own blame. We find out that low attention has been paid to preparations for flooding. The Nigerian Meteorological Services, NIMET, does its job regularly. It gives, predictions about places where flooding, might likely break out. But that of Mokwa, from what we hear, was surprising. It wasn't expected to have happened at that time in such volume. But you see, the problem of flash flooding is such that sometimes it's unpredictable. The volume, of rain that might come down within 30 minutes can be devastating. Or continuous rain for maybe about 3 to 5 to 6 hours to 10 hours can be devastating. So, and again, there's always enough time for people to clear their drainages, clear canals around them. But you also find people building into canals. You find people blocking drainages. You find people blocking rivers. I mean, so you now see people throw refuse into waterways, and these things get blocked. So when flooding, when you have heavy rain and flooding accumulates, it becomes a problem. Where will the water go to? And in urban centers, semi-urban centers too, you find out that people build houses without consideration for drainage. People don't make consideration for drainage. And then again, the quality of drainage built by some governments is also a problem. I saw a video yesterday of a drainage in one of the states being built with 9 inches block. And this is a major road around a very busy market, a market frequented by thousands of people on a daily basis. Normally, you would expect that the government will use iron rods to cast, to do a real raft that can withstand the pressure of. But we have a national highway policy, but how well do state government adhere to it? Even the how well do they adhere to the national highway policy? We're talking about national. Do we adhere to all those things? So you just find out that is why you have flooding in different places, causing problems. And so there's still time. There's time for people to clear their drains, and adopt decent sanitary habits so that our environment will be clean, not disposing of refuse anywhere, in just any place. But make sure that you dispose of refuse properly, and together we can control flooding.
Very, very true. We sincerely hope that together we can control flooding. Climate change is real. As much as in Nigeria we try as much as we can to, push that away or throw that under the carpet. Climate change is real and is affecting us. And Nigeria, of course, is one of those hit worse by some of these changes in our climate today. But Emeka, let's take a look at other measures here and other issues. And we have voter education, civic competence, and participatory democracy in Nigeria. 2027 is heating up as much as we are still in 2025. Lots of people would ask, why would we be hitting the polity when we are still in 2025? But of course, 2027 is before us. With the deficit in INEC not doing the right thing at all times, do you think that 2027 we might have more than enough civic education on participation in the coming election?
In fact, you have raised a vital point. Political parties no longer engage in continuous voter education, and which is a vital point.
And why do you think they are not?
Yeah, because they don't go into, in Nigeria, people don't go into politics for service. They go into politics to have an access to the treasury, to loot, to steal. People don't go in for service. So that's why you see, you can't see any Nigerian leader who is prepared for service, who has an idea of what constitutes good governance. You just find very few. So you find the federal government doing the duties of the local government. You find the state governments taking up, in fact, hijacking the duties of the local government, which is not proper. So you now see that elections just exist. The only major thing on the electoral calendar is just elections. We're supposed to have, auditing of the accounts of political parties. INEC is supposed to publish the audited accounts of political parties. But have you seen any anywhere? Have you seen any? INEC is supposed to engage in continuous voter registration, but you just see snipers of it here and there. Whereas the National Registration Agency ought to be engaged in continuous mobilization, sensitization, enlightenment of the people to register, to vote. But how do people know? And then we have electoral reforms. There are reforms that we ought to have. The beavers and the IREF are still in the guidelines of INEC. They are not yet in the Electoral Act. They are not yet in the Constitution. And now INEC was talking about the other day about going back to the era of voting without PVCs. I mean, why? Because Nigerian politicians are the most despicable set of people, politicians in the world. Delinquent and wicked human beings. They don't care about development. Right now, nobody is interested in governance. What they are just interested in is 2020. And 2027 is 2 years away. Nobody is talking about, have we reduced maternal and infant mortality? Nobody is talking about how many school children have been registered. Nobody is talking about how many our hospitals equipped. You have an outbreak now of diphtheria in Lagos and in Imo states, even I think in Edo State. Nobody is talking about that. What they are doing instead, they are suppressing the information. Nobody is talking about that. You see, the governors of these states are so shameless. Some are not even paying the minimum wage. Even the federal government, the other day, federal workers threatened to march on Aso Rock, on the presidential villa, because they say that federal workers are not being paid what is due concerning the minimum wage. So in a situation like that, you hear people talking about 2027, it just smacks of irresponsibility, total irresponsibility, abdication of governance. And that is why you see the country is not moving forward. Because all we're just engaged in is go and borrow money. Go and borrow money, buy bags of rice, share 10 kg bags of rice. When he finishes, I ask them, what will the people eat? What next? So it's sad. And the people allow these things because politicians have weaponized, they've turned poverty and ignorance into weapons. So what do? They go on, they go on air and they lie. But I tell them what it shows is that many of you should just return your certificates to your schools. Go and apologize to your teachers that you are a big failure. They wasted their time teaching you in school. Return your certificates because you are a big failure. You can't think. Imagine an aide, one of President Bola Tinubu's aides, saying that it took India 50 years to get to where they are. But I ask you a question. Do you know the world today? Like I was listening to somebody. You can actually envision, prepare the future now before the future arrives. You can prepare for the future before that future arrives. Nobody should tell you, oh, it will take 10 years. You can produce anything now. Scientists are saying that by 2050, it will be possible for people to live long. It will be possible for people to live long. They are studying immortality to see how it's possible for people not to die. Scientists are studying that too. By 2035 now, the West is talking about that they will no longer allow fossil fuel vehicles, with petrol, diesel. You can't use it in their countries. Look at the changes going on. Look at the changes. Look at the innovations going on around the world. People are now talking about, how can we make people, live better? How can we eradicate a lot of these diseases around the world? How can we say goodbye to malaria? Nobody is talking about that in Nigeria. They are waiting for the future. They are waiting for Bill Gates to send grants. They are waiting for the West to send grants, which they will loot. They are waiting for the West to send even as little as injections, to send vaccines. Nobody is talking about that. And that's the sad thing. Because these people are not prepared for governance. They are not interested in governance. Nigeria has nothing, no export apart from crude oil. Our soil minerals, criminals are just looting soil minerals and taking them out of the country. Nobody is talking about that. All we are talking about is borrowing. Now they are talking of another loan, I think from Japan also, to beat food inflation. So just get a loan now, go and buy rice from anywhere in the world, and then maybe bring it down to 40,000. Then that's the end. Nothing sustainable. Nobody is looking at all these things we are doing. How sustainable are they? President Tinubu removed subsidy in 2023. Where is the subsidy money? Where is savings for subsidy? But when Abacha increased fuel price, as Ministry of State, we saw PTF, Petroleum Trust Fund, headed by General Muhammadu Buhari there. We saw what PTF did. We saw the new NNPC tankers. Then when Jonathan increased fuel price, we saw Shopee, subsidy reinvestment and empowerment. We saw the jobs, Shopee jobs. We saw Shopee vehicles. We also saw you win those grants that were giving 5 million naira grants, 10 million naira grants that were given to young graduates. We saw all of those things. But you say you have saved $20 billion from removal of subsidy. Where is the money?
How about NEL fund? How about NEL fund? Is it fair to say, yes, to say that before now, students they will never have loans, but today we have loans?
You must empower the citizens before you onboard them to credit. You say you are sending people to school. How are they going to pay? Where are the jobs that will enable them to pay back that money? Look, let me tell you something. You see, creating loans is not even an achievement. Yes, you can even see in the West, that people are trying to run away from debt. So many people have mortgage loans, educational loans. They are trying to run away from them. Yes, there are people who send their children down to Nigeria to attend tertiary institutions because they don't want their children to be stuck in student debt, where you'll be paying debt for 30 years of your working life. How many years do you have left? If you graduate from university at maybe 20, and you start paying back there for 30 years, that means you'll be paying till you are 50. By 50, are you not, you may be a grandfather or a grandma. I mean, by 50, you will still be paying debt. Meanwhile, you'll be training your children in school. Oh. You have other things you are doing. To me, that is not a sustainable way to run a society. That's not a sustainable way to run a society. I would rather that government should invest more in making education more affordable, so that we have more people who go to school and come out and be productive. But the situation where factories are closing down, businesses are running away because of the devaluation of the naira, because of the removal of subsidy, because of power, insufficient power and insecurity. So what is NEL fund? People, you say you are giving upkeep loan, 20,000 naira a month. Who does 20,000 naira take care of in this country? How can a student live on 20,000 naira a month? How? How? Is he going to be drinking air or drinking gari? Even gari is not cheap. So the question is this: you cannot borrow your way to prosperity. You can't borrow your way to prosperity. What I just see many people who are getting those NEL fund loans, they just see it as their own share of the national cake. And look at it. People who took COVID-19 loans during COVID, how many of them have paid back? How many? Some people use the money to run away from the country. How many have paid back? Go and ask banks. The rate of people owing banks now is very high. Is it the loan apps? So many people owing them, not paying. People even declaring boldly, yes, I am owing, I won't pay, or I don't have money to pay. So that is not a sustainable path to development. Talking about NEL fund, it's not sustainable. When we cannot even feed ourselves. We have to import maize. We have criminals, terrorists in the forest. We import maize, we import everything we eat in this country. And then we're talking about NEL fund. Are you going to fund, what's the meaning of NEL fund? NEL fund, you'll be surprised. Even private universities are asking to be listed in NEL fund. But these are universities where you see their school fees run into millions. How come they're asking to be listed in NEL fund? So that tells you that something is not right. Something is not right with the policy somewhere. People see it as a national cake that they should collect. So that when they graduate, and maybe they run away from the country, they just forget about everything. So we must look for more sustainable paths to good governance. Thank you.
Very, very true, Emeka. We must look for a better way to really run some of these things and ensure that it is sustainable. And not just giving us, but of course ensuring that it is sustainable. Because the truth remains that after this administration, I would love to believe another administration that would come after this might totally wipe away the NEL fund, and so will the money and every investment in it go just like that. But let's take a look at the Punch newspaper just before we leave today. Stop destroying church buildings. Deeper Life tackles Lagos State. Emeka, do you think most of these churches that are being demolished now were built in the wrong place, or is it the government doing what government knows how to do best?
I think it is very unfortunate that we have this kind of situation, because what it indicates is in part that these churches do not have building approval. They may not have building approval, or the locations where they are were not approved. But I think it's also, the dereliction of duty on the part of government to wait for people to erect structures and you go and demolish them. What you are doing is that you are destroying capital. And that is what our politicians are good at. They cannot think of how to make money for the country. They cannot think of better. It's how to destroy things, because they don't know how to create anything. They don't know how to create wealth. And that's the sad thing. You just keep demolishing and demolishing. To me, that is a demonic and diabolical way, of governance, where you relish demolishing people's properties. You are no longer a normal human being. I'm telling you, I say it without any apology, because it is not right. You should stop people. Government has the repository of violence. So you can't tell me that people who are building houses, in unauthorized places are more powerful than the government. The only weapon they use, to overpower the government is through bribes. So if the government cannot handle its operatives so well, I'm imbuing them a sense of patriotism to prevent the construction of property, of structures in unauthorized places, then there's a problem. That's the bigger problem. How can people just wake up and build houses, and then you now go and be demolishing them? It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense, because so much money, and then tomorrow you now expect people to pay taxes. You say people are not paying taxes. The same Lagos State government that been demolishing said that was it last year, only not up to 400 people collected a C of O, certificates of occupancy. How will people collect? Check the number of houses you are demolishing. How will more people apply for certificates of occupancy when you release demolishing people's houses? You shouldn't let them build on canals, waterways. You shouldn't let them at all. The same energy you use anytime there's a riot, you bring out soldiers and policemen. The same energy, use that same energy to prevent people from building in authorized places. Use the National Orientation Agency to sensitize people. Local governments, why do you have the local governments? What are they doing? That's the closest arm of government to the people. What are they doing in the offices? Let them go out. They have planning authority. Let them go out to make sure that people don't erect all these structures and then you turn around to demolish them. It doesn't make sense, in my view.
Very, very true, Emeka. It doesn't truly make sense. But of course, one would equally, of course, speak on behalf of the government, because a government is now more of a society or community of interest. The government today might be in support of a building for a particular individual or society, only for the next government to come and say that is not right. So how do we solve this issue of discrepancies here and there, of one administration not following in suit with what the next administration might want to do?
That is also another problem, the lack of continuity in governance. People just think that there shouldn't be continuity in governance. Go to the courts, go to the federal high court, to the high court, state high courts, federal high courts. You see so many cases on land, so many cases about properties. Why? One government will give approval, and that government will cancel approvals, cancel certificates of occupancy, because of the interest of some greedy, wicked politicians, greedy and wicked civil servants. They will go and carve out some areas, and they will tell you it is covered by government acquisition. Meanwhile, some criminals have used state power to acquire choice places for themselves. That was what they did, for instance, in Ogudu, GRA in Lagos. A place that was earmarked for certain purposes. The government, a succeeding government, cancelled it, and then started selling the lands to civil servants, to politicians. Now, the owners of the land from whom it was acquired said, this is not right now. They went to court. After more than 30 years, they got justice. Now, the Lagos State government had to intervene and start talking. The same thing happened in Agedingbe. So you don't find out all of this. The government will just come, acquire a place, claim to have acquired it in public interest, and then turn around and start selling the land to people. It's not right. Things should be done in the proper way. All this, pursuit of illicit wealth is what is making our society poorer. It's not enriching us. A few people just grabbing everything, grabbing land, grabbing money, grabbing everything. It cannot make our society better. How much can one person steal? How much can be enough? How much enough to satisfy the greed of our politicians? You know, how much is really enough to satisfy the greed of people in government? So we need to change our orientation, and then also the churches should have, that there should be discipline. If we are preaching godliness, if we are preaching moral values, if we are preaching religious, values and all of that, we should also be the ones. We should be the practitioners. We should show good examples. We should show good examples in the way we locate churches. And then noise pollution. The government has said don't put microphones outside your structures. I mean, the people who come to church are the people you are passing your message to. Why do you have to disturb people in their homes? If those ones wanted to come to your church, they will come. So why do you have to put microphones outside, put loudspeakers, outside your structure? And you are disturbing people. It should not be like that. It should not be like that. So we need a reorientation as citizens, whether we are Christians, whether we are Muslims, whether we are African traditional religion, adherents, whatever we are, whether we're even atheists, whatever we are, let us be worthy citizens, obey the law, make the society a livable place for all of us, and it will pay us in the end.
Very, very true, Emeka. So very apt. And just to let us know, the example Emeka Madunago cited was actually Magodo, not Ogudu. Of course, where they had that little issue here and there with the government and the people. And that's all we have for this particular segment. Just to let you know, Emeka will be here to take us on our main conversation when we return. Widespread support. Governor Umo Eno of Akwa Ibom State joins APC with full backing from the government. That in a bit is still Enterprise Weekend. Please don't go anywhere.